Hello, I'm Malcolm. Welcome to edition 1966 of the Enfield Talking Newspaper. With me on the reading team for Thursday the 14th of August 2014 are John, Katherin and Audrey, with Colin on the controls. And the items we'll be reading are the copyright of our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent. This week's local stories include a day of play, hearing aid protests, unfair to make us pay for the riots, and call for a clampdown on races. But we've got to start with an apology today. John?
Yes, last week there was a problem at Enfield's sorting office, which meant the tapes were not sent out until Wednesday. We are not sure why this happened, as we've been unable to get any reply from the sorting office. The tape was recorded, copied and sent off as normal, but something, we don't yet know what, got in the way of its being sent to you on time. So on behalf of everyone at Enfield Talking Newspaper, we'd like to say sorry.
Sorry.
Thanks, John. Okay, well, before we go to the papers, we've got one or two reminders and special announcements.
Enfield Vision will be holding their next forum meeting on Monday, the 1st of September, from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. at the Park Avenue Disability Centre. The speaker will be Terry Okoro of the Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, and the meeting will discuss ways to make patient and clinical information more accessible to people who are blind and partially sighted.
Okay, Katherin, we were talking about Sonata before when we were talking about going digital. You've got something about that as well?
Yes, Malcolm. Enfield Talking Newspaper is now available on Sonata. Sonata is an internet radio service developed by the British Wireless for the Blind Fund, specifically for use by blind and partially sighted people. Sonata devices are available to buy from the British Wireless for the Blind Fund and require a broadband connection. Listeners who are registered blind or partially sighted, are UK residents and in receipt of means-tested benefits qualify for a Sonata device on free loan. For more information, please telephone the British Wireless for the Blind Fund on 01622 747 757. That's 01622 747 757. To experience a Sonata in action, please get in touch with your listener's representative, Diane de Jersey, on 020 8805 6578. That's 020 8805 6578.
And now, at last, here is John with the first news item.
Right, and this is down to the lovely weather too. Council chiefs got in touch with their inner child at a play day in Enfield last week. Deputy Mayor Patricia Ekechi joined hundreds of children in Enfield Town Park in Cecil Road on Wednesday for a day of family fun. The free event, which was part of National Play Day, kicked off a summer of play in the borough. As well as allowing children to have fun, bouncing, dancing, skipping, running and general mayhem are vital to keeping them healthy. Youngsters enjoyed bouncy castles, arts and crafts stalls, face painting, games and dance workshops, while the Mayor helped them to release hundreds of balloons. Aoife Orhan, Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Education and Children's Services, said, "This was a special day for celebrating our children's right to play. I also hope Enfield's children take full advantage of the free activities at centres throughout the borough for the rest of the summer."
Campaigners staged a protest outside the offices of a charity on Monday, demonstrating against an advertising campaign for hearing aids, which they say undermines the NHS. Members of the Enfield Over 50s Forum, which tackles issues affecting the elderly, picketed the offices of the Enfield branch of Age UK in Nags Head Road, Ponders End, in protest against the charity advertising for paid-for hearing aids in partnership with private firm UK Hearing Care. The forum members are furious about an advertising leaflet in which Age UK describes itself as your first choice for hearing solutions. Monty Meth, the forum's life president, said the charity was wrong to encourage people to pay for something they could get on the NHS for free. He said, "We cannot understand why Age UK is seeking to persuade older people to spend hard-earned money buying a hearing aid from a for-profit company, which cannot possibly offer them the continuous aftercare service provided by Chase Farm Hospital's audiology department. This is another threat to the NHS, which is being encouraged by Age UK, and we believe this is not the charity's function. The company selling the devices, the company selling the devices, UK Hearing Care Management Services Limited, is a subsidiary of UK Hearing Care and was formed in January 2013 when it committed to raising £100,000 for Age UK in exchange for the ability to use the charity's brand. Hugh Ford, Managing Director of Retail, Trading and Training at Age UK, said, "We recognise that hearing difficulties can have a devastating impact, so we seek not to compete with local NHS services, but to provide choice and widen the opportunity for older people looking for hearing care. Age UK Hearing Aids has been established to encourage older people to seek help with hearing problems, and all profits are gift-aided back to help fund our charitable activity."
A shopkeeper whose pharmacy was ransacked during the 2011 riots has used the third anniversary of the Troubles to warn of the drastic impact of planned government changes to the ways in which victims of such disturbances are compensated. During the riots of August 2011, Deepak Shah spent a night barricaded in his shop, Health Fair Chemist, in Southby Road, Enfield Town, while Yobs smashed the windows and tried to break in. The damage cost him £22,000 in lost trade and repairs, but he was able to claim compensation under the 1886 Riot Damages Act. This week, Mr. Shah spoke out against government plans to repeal and replace the law, under which police authorities are liable for damage caused to property during riots. The proposals set out in a consultation document include limiting the businesses which can claim to those with an annual turnover of less than £2 million. And businesses will only be able to claim for damages, not loss of trade and profits. Mr. Shah said, "Whether a riot occurs is the fault of businesses, whether a riot occurs is not the fault of the businesses. It's a policing matter if things get out of control. We already pay taxes, so there is no reason the government should not cover the damage and consequential losses, which are usually far higher than the actual damage caused. These plans will mean insurance premiums go up dramatically, or insurers will refuse to cover the risk entirely, meaning that businesses will be less likely to move to areas at risk of riots, which means a further downward spiral, as there will be less employment." The Metropolitan Police was taken to court last year after refusing to pay compensation for stock destroyed in the fire at the Sonny Distribution Centre in Solar Way, Enfield Lock, during the riots. It only agreed to pay out after a 2-year battle. Enfield North MP Nick Dubois said he would oppose the changes, adding, "It's good to tidy the act up so it's more up to date, but riots are so rare that asking businesses to plan for these on an annual basis and incurring substantial costs as a result is unreasonable. It would not be right to shift the cost of public disorder onto individuals and businesses." A spokeswoman for the Home Office said the Act needed updating. She added, "Our recent consultation provided an opportunity to ensure it meets the needs of any future compensation claims. We will now consider proposals to the consultation and will decide which proposals to take forward in due course."
The weekly car races along a road in Enfield that police insisted they were clamping down on last year have reached new, unacceptable levels, according to a councillor. The races are often referred to as meets by the speedsters who gather in car parks of industrial centres along the Great Cambridge Road. Now, Chase Ward councillor Nick Dines has called on the Mayor of London to step in and do something before someone gets killed. In a letter sent to Mayor Boris Johnson last week, Mr Dines said, Occasional policing activity does take place, but it is clear that this needs to be sustained and on every weekend, with fines and prosecutions being handed out to these drivers who are making people's lives a misery. Speaking to the Advertiser about the issue, the councillor who was elected in May said he was now hopeful that even if local police resources were stretched, City Hall might step into the breach. If we can secure mayoral backing for putting proper resources into clamping down on this menace, then it would of course help, said Mr. Dines. The last thing we want is for a driver at one of these meets to lose control of their car and slam it into one of the houses along that road. Police Sergeant Stuart Gill from Southbury Ward said, "Most of the people who go there don't speed. They are mostly car enthusiasts. Most of them are law-abiding citizens. The A10 is the jurisdiction of Transport for London, who at one time had an idea to put in average speed cameras. If they did that, it would solve the problem instantly." Mr. Dines added, "Enfield police are doing their best, but they just don't have the resources." In response to calls for action, London's Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime, Stephen Greenhall, said, "I'm very concerned that residents are suffering from this type of behaviour. The Metropolitan Police have said that they take this very seriously, but I will be raising it with the Commissioner to ensure that it is being dealt with appropriately to give local people the peace they deserve."
A nightclub had its licence suspended after a man was stabbed and another shot during a late-night brawl. Golden Palace in Herbert Road, Upper Edmonton, narrowly avoided being closed permanently following the incident, which took place 3 hours after it was meant to have been closed. The police are treating the shooting and stabbing as attempted murder. At a licence committee hearing last Wednesday, councillors told the premises holder, Edis Hatsunk, that his licence is suspended for 3 months while numerous conditions are met by the club. The committee heard that the incident took place 2.5 hours after a birthday party at the club was supposed to finish. Police arrived at the scene at approximately 6:20 a.m. to find numerous people still in the club. James Rantkin, representing the police, said the club's clientele has led it to become a stigma for gang culture. The committee also heard that on the night of the scuffle, CCTV was not in use and could not be provided as evidence. Mr. Rankin added, "The fact that the CCTV was not working during the night of the incident is a disaster and a major failing of the owner." Mr. Rankin also went on to condemn the failings at Golden Palace, highlighting that many of the staff were not fully trained and that when the police attempted to contact Mr. Hatsunk for questioning, he was ill on a number of days. Representing Golden Palace, Roderick James told the committee that private events are occasional. He said, "The Golden Palace's core business is in wedding functions and wakes, and very rarely hosts these types of events, twice a month maximum, so it would be disingenuous to say this is a stigma. We say that this incident is a one-off. My clients have held a licence since 2008 and not once has there been a serious issue. To revoke the licence would be unjustified." Committee Chairman, Councillor Derek Levy, issued the suspension of the licence and conditions that need to be met by Golden Palace in order to reopen. These include the installation of a search arch to detect weapons being taken into a club, regular checks to ensure all staff are qualified, no entry to the club 1 hour before closing time, and hand searches on customers before entering the club. Speaking after the ruling, Mr. James said, "My clients are disappointed with the decision, but they take the committee's conditions very seriously and will be taking them on board." Mr. James did not rule out the possibility of an appeal to the decision made by the committee.
A man has accused a rail operator of using bullying tactics to force residents to pay more money to rent land. Tony Anthony, 64, of Woodland Way, Winchmore Hill, has been paying rent on 50 foot of land at the bottom of his garden for the past 24 years. It has risen over time from £50 to the current figure of £96.32, which he paid in June. However, The retired bank manager received a letter from Network Rail on July the 2nd advising him that the rent is below the land's current market value, and therefore the company was proposing an increase to £500 plus VAT, meaning an annual rent close to £600. "It's out of order," said an angry Mr. Anthony. "How have they come to the conclusion the land is worth that? In my opinion, they're looking to make money off old age pensioners." The letter states residents can opt out of the new agreement, but Mr. Anthony claimed he was not consulted about the proposal for the wasteland, which is no use to anyone else. He said, "I don't like the way Network Rail are trying to bully their customers. This isn't the first time they've come up with schemes they've not thought through properly. I've spoken to a few of my neighbours, and we all agree that we will not pay the extra fees," added Mr. Anthony. A Network Rail spokeswoman said, "Every penny Network Rail receives in rent is reinvested into improving the railway for passengers, which is why it's important that rents reflect the current market value. Many of the agreements residents have on this road to lease part of their gardens from Network Rail date back to British Rail days, and the new charges reflect the appropriate level of rent. Some properties of this road already are paying the current market value. All properties have been given at least 4 months' notice and have the option not to proceed and return the land to Network Rail." Before we go on, there's just time to mention that our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Bouillon and Harry Breur. It's performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, who's kindly given his permission for us to use it. Now, before we go to the sport, here's Katherin with an item about Open House London.
Well, I expect you know that every year during a weekend in September, various places in London, not normally open to the public, are made accessible to the public. This year, Open House London, as it's called, takes place on Saturday the 20th and Sunday the 21st of September. Vocal Eyes is a national-wide audio description charity, providing access to the arts for blind and partially sighted people. This year, Vocal Eyes have been able to arrange audio-described tours of 4 buildings as part of the Open House London programme. The tours have been kindly supported by the Greater London Fund for the Blind and the Leather Sellers Company. There will be a tour of the Ismaili Centre in Cromwell Gardens, South Kensington, on Saturday the 30th at 10:30 a.m. The centre, built in 1983, was widely acclaimed by architectural critics for its design and craftsmanship. The building contains traditional elements of the Islamic interior behind a contemporary facade. Architects from Make Partnership will be leading tours of their refurbished building at 55 Baker Street at 3 p.m. on Saturday the 20th of September. The radical renovation of the former Marks & Spencer's headquarters has created a new urban amenity with a mix of uses and new public space. Taylor Bentley, the art and architecture tour leader, will guide you around the old Royal Naval College in Greenwich at 10 a.m. on Sunday the 21st of September. Built as the Royal Hospital for Seamen above the ruins of Henry VIII's Greenwich Palace, the buildings were designed by Sir Christopher Wren, Nicholas Hawksmoor, James Athenian Stewart and Sir John Vanbrugh. At 3:30 p.m. on Sunday the 21st of September, there will be a tour of Maggie's Centre at the Charing Cross Hospital, Fulham Palace Road. The building, designed by Richard Rogers in 2008, has won several architectural awards. The bright orange buildings offer a calm oasis to users of the Cancer Centre. Places are limited, so reserve your place soon. Vocal Eyes ask that booking is made by email if possible. The address is enquiries@vocaleyes.co.uk. If you are unable to email a booking request, please call Vocal Eyes on 020 7375 1043. That's 020 7375 1043.
Thanks, Katherin. And Vocal Eyes, and that's VOCALIZE, Eyes, E-Y-E-S, all one word, has a very interesting website as well with lots of audio-described landmarks in London by some quite famous people. Okay, well, let's go to the sport now, and here's Audrey with some cricket.
Enfield remain within touching distance of the Middlesex County Cricket League. Division 2 promotion places after a 4-wicket win at Harrow on Saturday. Elsewhere in Division 2, Winchmore Hill remain rooted to the bottom of the table after a 101-run thrashing at the hands of Shepherd's Bush. In the Saracen Heart League Division 1, Holt White's Trinibus slipped to 55-run loss at Luton Town and Indians. North Enfield slipped to a 5-wicket loss at home to Harpenden, seconds in Division 3. Northampton Exiles were also beaten, going down by 4 wickets at home to Southgate Compton in Division 4.
Enfield and Haringey sprinter Desiree Henry equalled her personal best and finished 7th in the final of the 100 metres at the European Championships in Zurich. The 18-year-old set a personal best of 11.21 seconds in qualifying for the semi-finals before equalling the time to secure her final spot by finishing as runner-up in Heat 2 yesterday. Henry finished in 11.43 seconds in the final, though comfortably behind winner Daphne Schippers of the Netherlands, who clocked 11.12 seconds. France's Miriam Sumar took silver with a time of 11.16 before Team GB's Ashley Nelson scooped bronze by finishing in 11.22 seconds. Thomas Grant kept up his 100% record in the Grovelands Park Run by recording a new personal best to win Saturday's race. Grimes, who belongs to East London Runners, won the race for the 5th time in as many attempts and shaved 18 seconds off his previous best to finish in 17.17. In second place was Alan Lee, who claimed his first top 3 finish by crossing the line in 20:09 to equal his personal best. Sal Oscarson finished 4th in 20.36, with no details recorded for the third runner to cross the line. Elaine Pitter claimed her first Grovelands Park Run win, crossing the line in 23.38 as the first female runner home. Siobhan Katherin Green was second for the ladies, finishing in a personal best time of 26.14, whilst Helen Doherty equalled her best time of 26.2.
And after those successes, I now have to read the football, which isn't so good, I'm afraid. Manager George Borg described Enfield Town's pre-season preparations as a shambles, following Saturday's 5-2 home defeat by Kingstonian, but said his side could only get stronger. The Towners were soundly beaten by the 10-man K's on the opening day of the Ryman Premier League season, with the visitors scoring 3 second-half goals to swat Enfield aside at the Queen Elizabeth II Stadium. Turning his attention to Tuesday's clash at Harrow Borough, Borg said, "We can only get stronger and stronger. We've got a good, strong bunch of players with a strong mentality who are prepared to work hard and want to learn, and I will make sure we get it right." However, after Tuesday's match, Borg decided to end his experiment of playing Mark Kirby as a striker after confirming that the skipper will revert to his previous position at the heart of the defence this week. Borg had revealed over the summer that he wanted to field his captain in attack this season, believing that he could make a huge impact at the other end of the pitch. Kirby came on as a substitute striker during the second half of Saturday's 5-2 defeat at home to Kingstonian in the Ryman Premier Division, and on Tuesday played the entire match up front as Town were beaten 2-0 at Harrow Borough. But having watched his side struggle defensively in both matches, and with Kirby failing to make a significant impact up front, Borg has chosen to make the switch ahead of Saturday's trip to Bury Town. A difficult start to the season for Town has also seen them facing a growing injury list, with summer signing Neil Cousins suffering a calf problem on Saturday, and Tuesday's match seeing Mitch Hahn pull a hamstring and Joe Stevens end up being stretchered off with a shoulder injury. Family issues have also forced Jamie Piper temporarily to head back to Scotland, while Borg has decided to release James Hawes after the summer arrival picked up a succession of injuries which have prevented him from taking to the field. Despite Town's disappointing start to the campaign, Borg is remaining upbeat about their prospects and is confident that it will not be long before their fortunes start to improve. Town follows Saturday's match by hosting VCD Athletic on Tuesday at 7:45pm. Meanwhile, Enfield Town have been drawn at home to Harrow Borough in the Ryman League Cup, with the match set to be played on October the 7th.
And now back to the news. A car was left embedded in the wall of a music shop in Enfield following a collision on Monday. According to eyewitnesses, the black Audi first collided with a van parked in a service road alongside Baker Street before finishing up in the side of the North London Music Centre. Amarjit Broka, who lives in one of the flats adjoining the shop, told the Advertiser that he had been in his home watching TV when he heard two loud bangs at about 5:25pm. I rushed out and I saw a huge hole in the side of the shop with the car almost inside, he said. I'm not going back into my house until a structural engineer has a look at it. It doesn't look safe. Jenny Calvert, who lives above the shop, said that she was coming home with her daughter and mother when she saw the car stuck in the side of the building. She was escorted into her flat by a fireman to assess any damage that might have been done. We do not know if the building is safe, so we just have to hang on until someone comes out to have a proper look at it, she said on Monday. We were supposed to go to my mother's home tonight for her birthday celebration, but this has scuppered that plan. Paramedics arrived on the scene and treated the driver of the car for a cut lip and shock. He did not require hospital treatment. Police officers closed Baker Street in both directions from Parsonage Lane to Tenniswood Road. It was partially closed overnight and didn't fully reopen until 6:30am yesterday.
Continuous fly tipping has made a road resemble a third world country, bringing misery to those who live there. Carterhatch Road in Enfield Wash has been subject to incessant fly tipping for a number of years, leaving people who live closest to the dumping grounds fuming. From household rubbish to disused beds, the road has been regularly used as a fly tipper's paradise, with an alleyway off the road also being exploited. Zach Haji Kipri, who works at Enfield Dental Lab on Carterhatch Road, told the Independent that a dumping ground site right on his doorstep. He said, I've lived and worked here since 2001, and this disgusting trend is leaving a terrible mark on the road. It makes my business look terrible, and you can get all sorts of rubbish sitting in the road. The council comes, collects it up, but that is not the solution to completely stopping this horrific act. The alleyway needs to be gated off to stop people going down there and doing as they please. Colin Wackett, who also lives on Carterhatch Road, compared the road to that of a third world country when rubbish bags start to mount. He said this is almost a daily crisis that we see in Carterhatch Road. People continue to do it because they know they can get away with it. It's a never-ending cycle. Even the fly tippers have taken it to a new level and left a recycling bin with the regular rubbish fly tip. It is like a third world country, and I think if I had known it was going to be like this when I first moved here, I might have thought twice.
One of the borough's libraries will be off-limits to the public for a year while it undergoes a facelift. Palmer's Green Library in Broomfield Lane was officially handed over to developers on Friday, and construction work on a new learning hub will begin on Monday. According to Enfield Council, the project is being partly funded by the sale of Southgate Town Hall, which adjoins the library, to developers who plan to turn the old building into flats. Explaining why Enfield is able to sustain library refurbishments while other boroughs struggle to keep their libraries open, a council spokeswoman said, Enfield values libraries. Libraries in this borough serve many functions. Parents can sign their babies up to the library, young people can use them for studying, job hunters can use them. They are not a place of hush anymore. And, as reported in this paper, a library can also be an ideal place for welcoming babies into the world, as Maria Neves Ruano Antiqua proved when she gave birth to her daughter, Brianna Sakaruan, among the bookshelves of Edmonton Green Library on June the 30th. Admitting she was thrilled at the prospect of another upgraded library in the borough, Aoife Orhan, the council's cabinet member for education and children's services, said, "This new library will be equipped with the latest computers and a broad selection of books, music and films to borrow. There will be areas for people to study and search for jobs. It will be a lively centre for learning, training and children's fun. I'm pleased to welcome residents and council staff who have supported the development and look forward to the continuing success of this very popular library."
Charities are being offered the chance to bag a pot of cash through the Enfield Independent. The Gannett Foundation is the charitable arm of Gannett Co. Incorporated, owner of NewsQuest Media Group. The company publishes the Enfield Independent and other local newspapers, websites and magazines across the UK. It supports charities in the areas in which it publishes newspapers and websites that take a creative approach to issues such as education and neighbourhood improvements, economic development, youth development, problem solving in their areas, assistance to disadvantaged or disabled people, environmental conservation and cultural enrichment. It particularly values projects that bring lasting benefits to the communities served by Gannett's papers and websites. Applications of any size or ambition are invited, but are typically for projects that require and merit awards of between £5,000 and £10,000. However, more modest applications will also be considered. The Foundation will favour projects that demonstrate good planning, oversight and financial responsibility. For more information, visit a website which is www.enfieldindependent.co.uk/Gannett, GANNET/application.
A burglar who broke into a home with a crowbar before making off with thousands of pounds worth of goods has been jailed for a total of 12 months. Tolga Binbuga of Riverdale Court, Bush Hill Park, was sentenced to 9 months in prison when he appeared at Wood Green Crown Court last Thursday. Binbuga, 24, had pleaded guilty to residential burglary at an earlier hearing. At the same time, he was sentenced to 3 months behind bars for an earlier conviction of actual bodily harm to run consecutively, meaning he will have to spend a total of 12 months in prison. Binbuga broke into a home in Main Avenue, Bush Hill Park, on October the 5th, 2013, before escaping with the keys to a Mercedes car and more than £3,000 worth of electrical items. According to police, in his haste to flee, Binbuga dropped the crowbar and some of the electrical equipment. When officers found the crowbar, they discovered it had been bought from B&Q in Great Cambridge Road, Enfield, earlier that day. Binbuga was identified using the CCTV from the store. He was arrested on October the 28th and charged with burglary on November the 19th. Investigating officer Detective Constable Rob Delaney said, "This investigation would not have been possible without help from the staff at B&Q. With their help, we've taken a burglar off the streets of Enfield."
This is a letter from David Sloman, Chief Executive, Royal Free Hospital NHS Foundation Trust. Since the acquisition of Barnet and Chase Farm Hospitals, the Royal Free London has made the redevelopment of Chase Farm Hospital a key priority. Many of the buildings at Chase Farm are old and dilapidated and spread out over a large area, forcing patients to travel some distance for care. We urgently need to transform the site into a modern hospital that will ensure patients receive a clean and efficient health care in a 21st century environment. The Trust is currently engaging the patients, residents, local politicians and other stakeholders through regular meetings. Feedback from these will inform a planning application which will be submitted to Enfield Council in November. Residents will then have the opportunity to comment on the proposed redevelopment plan. The 263 million of transitional funding referred to in the letter from Mrs. Beard's letter is money provided by the Department of Health, NHS England and CCGs for the acquisition of Barnet and Chase Farm hospitals. The money has been provided for the cost of the transaction and the cost of integrating and developing services, the cost of clearing Barnet and Chase Farm hospitals' historic debt, and to partly fund the redevelopment of Chase Farm. The Trust is planning to spend around 120 million on the redevelopment scheme, and all the money gained from land sales at the site will be used for the benefit of patients at Chase Farm. We are keen to bring services closer to patients' homes. For example, we recently opened a dialysis unit in Tottenham Hale, as many of our dialysis patients come from the local area. A coat of paint might help.
A teenage chef is launching a series of films to encourage school children to eat more healthily. Terence T.J. Dobson, 13 of Ashfield Road, Southgate, realised his passion for food when he began cooking alongside his mother 6 years ago. Eager to show off his culinary skills, the youngster secretly applied to appear in the 2012 series of the BBC's Junior MasterChef, beating off stiff competition for a coveted place on the show. TJ, a pupil at Ashmole Academy in Cecil Road, Southgate, said, "When I found out I had been picked, I was so excited, overwhelmed and thrilled." His dishes of chicken, duck and lobster so impressed judges John Turode and Donald Skean that TJ sailed through to the final stages of the competition. And since, his appearance on the show has received a lot of support from friends. "They are happy, encouraging me to keep going, as it's my dream," he said. TJ has cooked lunch in his school's kitchen for 15 guests, including the Mayor of Barnet, Lisa Rutter. He said, "I didn't feel nervous, as I have confidence my food will be good." The ambitious youngster, who is also the co-chairperson of the Mayor of London's Youth Board, has seen his recipes become part of the school curriculum, an accomplishment which he described as unreal. TJ believes that his mission to get more youngsters into the kitchen by launching a series of Cook With Me films, available to download through his website from September the 1st, is realistic. It's understandable people want to eat junk food, but once kids learn how to make healthier food, they will understand that it's better for them, and they should carry on, he said. Eager to make a difference, TJ dreams of opening his own restaurant, serving French, British and Japanese cuisine. He added, "I will carry on with cooking and probably do more TV shows and radio, going to different countries, talking about how important healthy cooking is. I would like to go to America and travel the world once I open up my own restaurant."
A dance group proved they were anything but ordinary when they won the third heat of Edmonton's Got Talent 2014. The penultimate show, held on Saturday, saw another wide range of performers go head-to-head for a place in the final in front of judges Tony Ann Paul, Selena Mastroianni and Edmonton Green Centre manager Roger Allen. After an action-packed day of performances from singers, musicians and dancers, street dance group Unorthodox were named as the first place winner with a prize of £200. Pardon me. 12-year-old singer Jasmina Saiwak came second with her rendition of At Last by Etta James. Sharon Joy Blackman and Martin Craig were named in joint third place. Mr. Allen said, "Unorthodox executed a mind-blowing performance with such energy, passion and precision that we were in no doubt Unorthodox was worthy of this week's top prize." The final event will take place this Saturday, and we are looking forward to welcoming back some spectacular acts from earlier weeks as they battle to win the title of EGT Winner 2014. Unorthodox will now join Heat 1 winner Dave Davis Iliki and Heat 2 winner Kai Leaf in Saturday's final, with one more finalist still to be determined. Open stage nights hosted as part of Edmonton's Got Talent, which is supported by the Enfield Independent, returned for a final day on Thursday, August the 14th, in the North Square. For more information, visit edmontongreencentre.co.uk.
A charity wants people to take on a personal challenge in the name of multiple sclerosis. The MS Society is urging people to kick a habit, enter a race, or create their own challenge during September to try and raise money for MS research. In Enfield, around 400 people are living with MS, but a recent survey showed 50% of people could not name one symptom of the condition. Holly Lambert, Community and Events Fundraising Manager at the charity, said, "There are around 400 people in Enfield and over 100,000 people in the UK living with MS, yet many people don't fully understand the condition. We're encouraging people to sign up to Challenge MS to find out more about MS and take on a personal challenge during September. Whether you decide to quit a habit, take on a creative challenge, enter a race, or simply make a change to your daily life, the choice is yours."
Disabled public transport users will only be able to renew their passes by post online shortly. The Freedom Pass allows disabled people in the borough to have free travel on almost all public transport in London. Residents will no longer be able to renew their passes at post offices after March the 31st, 2015. And Enfield Borough Council is encouraging people to post their application or fill out an online form. Cabinet Member for Environment, Councillor Chris Bond, said, "We want to make sure that everyone who is eligible for a Freedom Pass has one and ensures it is renewed in good time. That's why residents with Freedom Passes need to be aware of the change to the renewal process. The quickest and most effective way to renew is online, either in person or by enlisting the help of a loved one if necessary. People who don't have access to the internet can either take advantage of our excellent libraries or use the computers there to complete the online application. Residents can also apply by post, but this takes significantly longer period."
An Edmonton MP swapped the corridors of power for the streets of Enfield when he worked as a postman for the day. Andy Love joined Upper Edmonton postman Dave Collins on his delivery round. The MP worked alongside Mr. Collins in order to gain an insight into the challenges of delivering mail 6 days a week to houses in his constituency. Mr. Love said, "In my student days, I worked at a sorting office, so I have some idea of all the work that goes on behind the scenes to deliver the mail on a daily basis. But it was fascinating to see how much the mailbag has changed since then." Royal Mail Delivery Manager Sawinder Kaur Singh said, "We're delighted that MP Andy Love is taking the time to experience the everyday challenges. The visit gave us the opportunity to show him how we are modernising and transforming the organisation."
A mental health nurse who spent 39 years working in hospitals says she will retire with good memories. Janet Audrey spent almost 4 decades working for the Barnet, Enfield and Haringey Mental Health Trust as a service manager. Her friends threw her a farewell party which was attended by many former colleagues. A dedicated Arsenal fan, Janet will be spending her retirement watching football, travelling and spending more time with family and friends. Talking about the future of the NHS, she added, there will need to be difficult decisions made because of finances, but people will still need to be looked after."
And before we go, please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the cassette into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible so we can send out the next edition. And that will be with you in 1 week's time. Thanks for being with us. From me, John, Katherin, Audrey and Colin, goodbye. Bye.